Have you ever just stopped, really stopped, and thought about the everyday miracles all around us? I mean, like the sheer power that lights up our cities, runs the trains, keeps factories humming. We see it, we use it every day, but we rarely pause to really think about the incredible system behind it. Today, we're going to dive deep into a really thought-provoking analogy from our source material. It uses this exact idea, this kind of mystery of everyday power, to explore how we figure out what's true, especially when, the full picture isn't right there in front of us.
Exactly. And our goal here in this deep dive is really to unpack this powerful thought experiment. It challenges us, I think, to think critically about how we approach knowledge, how we weigh different claims about things we can't directly see, and hopefully you'll find this helps navigate sort of the information overload we all face and maybe uncover some profound insights.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Let's unpack this scenario. Our source asks us to picture a busy modern city. You've got hundreds of factories just running constantly on electricity. Trains, trams moving all the time, thousands of lights making streets bright at night, fans cooling homes in summer. I mean, these are truly incredible feats of power and coordination. But here's the question that the source poses, the real kicker. Why aren't we, amazed by this? Why isn't there just widespread confusion or, constant debate about how it all actually works?
That's such a good point. It is strange when you think about it that way. And the source explains our lack of astonishment basically boils down to understanding the whole cause and effect chain.
Right.
We can literally see the wires carrying the power, or at least we know they're there. We know about the power plants, these huge places where it all comes from. We know there are workers running them. And critically, we know there's a skilled engineer, someone with the knowledge, the power, to oversee and orchestrate the whole system. The entire process, really. From cause to effect, it's accessible to our senses, or at least we can confirm it exists. It's transparent in a way.
Right, it's knowable. But here's where it gets really interesting, where the thought experiment takes a sharp turn. Imagine this twist. What if all those wires, all that infrastructure delivering the electricity were completely hidden from view, gone? What if the power plant was, totally beyond our senses? We couldn't see it, hear it, nothing. The workers, unknown. And the very existence of an engineer with that kind of knowledge, that kind of power, completely unconfirmed, totally uncertain. Would we still be so calm, so accepting?
The source argues pretty convincingly, I think, no, not at all.
We'd be lost.
Completely. It suggests we'd be plunged into a state of utter bewilderment, intellectual chaos, really.
So in this hypothetical, where the causes are totally hidden, the source paints this really vivid picture of confusion, right? People scrambling, minds racing, just trying to make sense of these powerful, visible effects without any visible cause.
Exactly. And this brings up a really fundamental question about, well, how humans think. How would people try to explain these things, the lights coming on, the trains moving, with no obvious explanation? The source details several conflicting theories that it predicts would pop up. For instance, some people would probably argue, oh, these things are just self-generating, the lights light themselves up, the trains just move on their own. No external power needed.
Okay, like spontaneous power.
Sort of, yeah. Or others might say it's the actual composition of the materials themselves.
Yeah.
The metal in the filament is light, the steel of the train is motion. Then you'd get another group suggesting, well, maybe multiple deities or powers.
Yeah.
Different gods for different jobs. One god for the lights, another for the trams, a third for the factory machines.
Right, a whole pantheon of power gods.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then finally there'd be some who just throw up their hands, become agnostics, as the source puts it. They basically say, look, our minds just can't grasp this mystery. We only know what we see and feel. Anything beyond that, unknowable.
Wow. So you'd have all these different camps, all with their own explanations. And the source says they wouldn't just disagree politely.
Oh, no, not at all. It pictures fierce intellectual battles, arguments, debates, maybe even worse.
But here's the crucial point the source emphasizes. None of them, not one group, would have any actual solid proof, no decisive evidence. All their theories are just guesses. Speculation. What's the word the source uses?
Qiyasat. Conjectures. Speculation. That's the key. They admit they're guessing based on what little they can perceive.
So even if some theories sound kind of logical in that limited world.
Exactly. They might seem logical, but they lack that foundation of certainty. And this really highlights, a basic human tendency. When we face the unknown, a hidden cause, our minds just race to fill the gap. But without facts, without evidence, you naturally end up with all these different unproven theories and inevitably disputes, because there's no common ground of verified fact.
Okay, so you have this chaotic landscape of conflicting guesses, but then the source says something changes. A new voice emerges. Amidst all this confusion and argument, a separate voice steps forward. One individual. And they make a claim that's, well, completely different, startling even.
Yes, a pivotal moment in the analogy. This lone figure stands up and says, essentially, you're all missing the big picture. They assert they have a unique source of knowledge, something the general public doesn't have access to. And they declare that, yes, all these things, the lights, the fans, the trains, the factories, are connected by unseen wires, connected to a massive hidden power plant operating with great capacities, run by countless workers, all under the command of one great engineer. It's this single engineer, they claim, with immense knowledge and power, who designs and runs the whole show. A single, unified explanation.
Wow. Okay, so a total contrast to the multiple gods or self-generation ideas. But how do people react? I mean, it sounds pretty out there compared to the other theories floating around.
Predictably, not well. The source is clear. The public rejects it. They call the person insane. They face intense persecution, beatings, pain, exile, just terrible suffering.
Yet, and this seems really important, the source says this individual remains absolutely steadfast, doesn't change their story one bit, despite everything. Why is that consistency, that refusal to back down under pressure, so highlighted?
It's absolutely crucial. Think about it. If it was just a guess, a qiyasat like the others, or maybe a lie, or even a delusion, wouldn't that intense pressure make them crack? Wouldn't they change their story, maybe admit they were wrong, just to stop the suffering?
Yeah, you'd think so.
The fact that they don't waver, that they hold on to this claim, even facing death, suggests their conviction comes from something deeper than speculation. It lends their climb a different kind of weight. It's not just an opinion anymore, it's presented as testimony.
Okay, so it's not just the claim itself, but the way it's held. And then the story gets even more intriguing. It doesn't stop with just one person. Our source says others begin to appear, one after another, then hundreds, then thousands. And here's the really amazing part. Every single one of them makes the exact same claim. The same details. Yeah. The hidden wires, the power plant, the workers, the one great engineer. Identical.
Yes, this is perhaps the most remarkable turn. This multitude of claimants, their agreement is perfect. Absolute consistency. And remember, these aren't people collaborating in the same room. They might be separated by vast amounts of time, different locations, totally different circumstances. Yet the core message, identical. They all insist they have this special, non-ordinary way of knowing. And just like the first one, they all face similar persecution, intense opposition, but every single one remains utterly unwavering, right up to their last breath. It reinforces that point about steadfastness, but now on a massive scale.
And it's not just their words. The source goes further, describing their character. It explicitly states, none of them are liars. They're not thieves, not evildoers, not unjust, not corrupt. Even their worst enemies, the source says, would have to admit they were morally upright people. Pure morals.
That's right. And there are no signs of madness either. Quite the opposite, actually. They offer profound teachings. They lay down laws for moral behavior, for organizing society better. Teachings and laws so deep, so intricate that the source says even the smartest scholars would spend lifetimes trying to fully understand all the nuances.
So they're not just making this one claim about the engineer, they're also bringing this whole system of wisdom and ethics with them. How does it factor in? How does their character become, like, evidence here?
Well, it functions as powerful, indirect evidence. Think back to the court analogy we're building towards. If someone is making up a huge story, especially one that brings them nothing but trouble and pain, you might expect some flaws, right? Some inconsistencies in their behavior, maybe some sign of personal gain or manipulation.
Sure, you'd look for ulterior motives or cracks in the facade.
Exactly. But here, the source presents these individuals as having exemplary character. Their lives match their message. Their teachings are profound. Their integrity is undeniable, even by opponents. This makes it much harder to just dismiss their core claim about the engineer as a lie or a simple mistake. It adds significant weight to their testimony, suggesting it might be grounded in something real, not just made up.
Okay. So now the source essentially turns to us, to you, the listener. It says, step into the role of an impartial judge, a court of sound intellect. And your job is to weigh the evidence, to carefully consider the positions of these two main groups, the conjecturers and the claimants.
Yes, and the first step, as the judge, is acknowledging your own position. You, the intellect, the listener in this scenario, you don't have direct line to the truth. You can't just go and peek behind the curtain to see if the power plant and the engineer are really there.
Right, no direct proof possible for me, the judge.
Precisely. So your judgment has to be based on the indirect evidence available. The statements made, the arguments presented, the character of the people making the claims, any other signs or indicators they offer. You're weighing testimony and consistency, essentially.
Okay, let's break it down then. First, let's put the conjecturers on the stand, so to speak. Those folks with the theories about self-generation or material composition or multiple gods. What are the key characteristics of their position?
Well, looking at the conjectures, the first thing you notice is the sheer diversity and conflict within their views. They don't agree with each other, often arguing fiercely amongst themselves. There's no single unified explanation. And critically, they are upfront about the nature of their claims. They admit these are just conjectures, qiyasat, guesses, not certainties. The source also points out their theories tend to change over time. They evolve, influenced by new experiences or maybe just new intellectual fashions. People within this group often abandon old theories for new ones. There's an inherent instability.
Okay. And crucially, they lack proof.
Absolutely. They have no tangible proof. They can't show you the mechanism of self-generation or point to the specific material property causing the effect or introduce you to the light bulb god. They can't show you the hidden wires, the power plant, or the engineer things they might guess at, but can't demonstrate. Their arguments are based on inference from limited observation, not direct witness.
All right. So that's group one. Diverse, conflicting, self-admittedly conjectural, changing, and without concrete proof. Now let's turn to the second group, the claimants. The ones talking about the single great engineer. What does their case look like in this court of intellect?
It's a stark contrast. The most striking feature is their complete and perfect agreement. On all the fundamentals, they say exactly the same thing. Their core assertion, repeated by every single one, is that they possess a unique source of knowledge, something beyond ordinary human senses or reasoning. And importantly, they do not present their claims as conjectures. They don't say, we think maybe there's an engineer.
What do they say then?
They assert direct experience. They say things like, the engineer has a special relationship with us, or his agents visit us, or even he has personally shown us his factory. They claim to be speaking from observation, from direct knowledge, not guesswork.
Wow, okay, that's a very different kind of claim.
It is. And perhaps most impressively, the source emphasizes there isn't a single recorded instance, not one, of any of them ever changing their statement, not even slightly. From the moment they first make the claim until their dying breath, the story remains precisely the same. Absolute consistency across thousands of people, despite immense pressure.
So this whole analogy, this thought experiment, it's not just a story. It's really drilling down into how we evaluate claims about things we can't see for ourselves. It seems to be boiling down to this. When direct proof is impossible, what carries more weight? Speculation, even if it sounds logical, or consistent testimony from credible sources?
Exactly. That's the heart of the challenge it presents. When faced with these deep hidden realities, how do you decide? Do you give more credence to the diverse, shifting guesses, the conjectures that openly admit they're just speculation and have no real proof?
No.
Or do you seriously consider the unified, unwavering testimony? Testimony from this huge number of people known for their impeccable character, who all claim a unique, direct source of knowledge, and who stick to their story perfectly, even when persecuted. The analogy forces us to really examine what we value as evidence, the nature of knowledge itself, the role of observation versus testimony. How much weight do we give to consistency, to character, when trying to grasp the unseen?
It really leaves us, and you, the listener, with a powerful question to mull over, doesn't it? If you were truly in that situation, faced with those two groups, the shifting sands of conjecture versus the solid rock of consistent, unwavering testimony from credible witnesses, how would you, as that impartial court of intellect, make your judgment? And maybe more importantly, what would your decision in that hypothetical scenario tell you about your own approach, your own pathways to finding truth in our own complex world?
A profound question to reflect on.